This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Vertuo Pup, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live full service.
Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. 10 more years have passed since our last episode last week. This time around, we're in the 2000s. We're talking about movies released in 2005. And here to join me, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, but I'm feeling better about this one because mathematically is only 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years I can kind of stomach. The interesting thing, though, is that, again, as we go through these decades, you sit there and go, no, it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, it was that long ago. And I'm starting to feel a little bit more normal now with these movies, but I still can't fathom that some of them were released 20 years ago. Like, that's a whole educational lifespan alone, like from kindergarten all the way through to like graduating college or university. Also put that into perspective. Whew. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take films released in 2005 and pick 3 each, a keep, a watch, and a pass. The keep is one that still holds up to this day. The watch is one that, you know what? To us, it's still pretty darn good. And the pass is one that 20 years isn't long enough to get over it. And Gary, I'm going to start over with you. What's your keep film from movies released in 2005?
I am so predictable, but I am sticking with that I'm keeping a Harry Potter property, and that is The Goblet of Fire.
But yet, if memory serves, this is like your least favorite of the 8 Harry Potter films.
It's true it is, but it was the one released in 2005, and I'm keeping all of them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is the one where someone needed to give David Tennant some chapstick because there was a whole lot of lip-lipping going on. And
yeah.
Did I just say lip-lipping? Lip-licking. Apparently, I'm getting my everything backwards here. This is what happens when you realize that those films are 20 years old. And whew. But I mean, I think Goblet of Fire, I mean, if that's the least favorite of 8 films, that's still pretty damn good.
It has its charm and it has its place in the storyline, but definitely my least favorite of the 8 movies for sure.
Well, I mean, we hadn't actually met Luna Lovegood at this point, so we were still waiting for that to happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, the other thing too is coming off The Prisoner of Azkaban, which was one of the best Harry Potter films. It's also, as I recall, as they were going through more director changes as well. So, you know, obviously you hand off the franchise a few times and you're going to get totally different films. Like the first two films, obviously both directed by Chris Columbus. Yes, they feel very storybook-esque, and that's good. Prisoner of Azkaban, very well done. Very well done. This one was okay. And then you hand off the last 4 to David Yates, and that's when things really picked up for me.
Well, this is also, you know, in the story, when things do start to get darker. I mean, the loss of Cedric Diggory, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was the first like death scene. I mean, aside from, okay, they took out a troll and they took out like that weird Voldemort on the back of the teacher's head, but this was the first death scene.
Yeah. And to end the film on that, pretty much, like this is where your safe space just got ruined.
Yeah.
And, if I want to put it into perspective for people who haven't watched Harry Potter, but, still speaking to Geek Nation here, you take a look at the X-Men 97 series, and they did this all in like one season. So follow me along here. So the first couple of episodes, you've got some really good X-Men animated series nostalgia vibes, and it's all good, no problem, enjoying it. There's lots of action going on, all good. Then you get episode 5 rolls around, and it's feeling a little melodramatic, and they're leaning into the whole like Rogue's backstory and her past relationship with Magneto and with Gambit, and then you're like, oh, you're steeped in the melodrama, and then changes, and it gets dark, and you're left. Episode 5 of X-Men 97 is the harshest end to a TV show. Like, that was Avengers Infinity War level ending right there. Goblet of Fire's not that far behind.
I was going to say it's the one out of the movies thus far up to into 4 movies where you leave the theater and you're like, oh, like you just like, you expect to leave feeling good. You've had a nice story told to you and playing out from the words on the page to the big screen. And then this, and it ends that way with Cedric Diggory's death. And, Harry Potter becomes like public enemy number 1 as far as everyone at Hogwarts that doesn't know and fully understand the backstory or the involvement of Voldemort. And like, it just ends. It ends with that. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
It kind of sucks the life out of you.
I
like
mean,
a Dementor's kiss.
Deathly Hallows Part 1 kind of ends on that downbeat as well. But I mean, like, it's part 1, right? It's meant to be a 2-parter. And the way you end the first part of a 2-parter film is you leave them hanging. You leave them on this down moment because you want to know how the heroes are going to come back and take care of everything.
Yeah, and Deathly Hallows Part 1 was a bit of a slog, I found. It was kind of like, and I know I'm going to break the internet and take heat for this, but it was kind of like The Lord of the Rings, where it felt like a chase movie. Like the Golden Trio are literally traveling the entire movie. And, with purpose, but it just kind of felt like, okay, like when are things actually going to start to get, when are they going back to Hogwarts? When is it going to get interesting?
Yeah.
And thus, why they needed the second movie.
Although on the upside, Goblet of Fire did prove to us all that wizard-themed punk bands and mosh pits happen in Hogwarts.
Right. And also, disclaimer, not knocking. I'm not choosing Harry Potter over Lord of the Rings. Both properties are excellent. I'm just saying it was very in line with the chase aspect of Lord of the Rings. No disrespect.
I mean, any writer who writes fantasy, of course, is going to hat tip J.R.R. Tolkien because that's what you do, right? He created one of the most iconic trilogies of all time. So yeah, tip of the hat to Tolkien all the time. I understand that. And anyone who makes fantasy films, of course, is going to tip the hat to Peter Jackson as well. So,
I'm not, Team Dobby versus Team Gollum. I'm not doing it.
Well, Dobby is a precious elf.
Dobby's a free elf. Also heartbreaking.
Yes. Speaking of part 1 of the Deathly Hallows. Also spoilers.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Well, check this out. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic famous foods from restaurants across the country anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Fred Warner, linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. Abercrombie has the new suits you need, plus all the collared shirts to go with them. The Abercrombie & Fitch Collins suit is the only suit you'll ever need for any occasion. Available in slim, classic, and athletic. Pair with a collared classic. Go with a soft, easy-to-wear sweater polo or a comfortable long-sleeve shirt. With so many different fits and fabrics, you can make a look that's completely your own. Add the Abercrombie & Fitch Collins suit and new collared shirts to every occasion this season. Shop online or in store.
All right, for my keep pick, I find it interesting because it wasn't that long ago and it's not that bad that we started off Razzies month with Batman and Robin. Not the way that you wanted Dark Knight films to end. So thank God for Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale bringing us Batman Begins. This is the start of the Nolan-Bale Dark Knight trilogy that brought Batman back to what it should be. And I mean, we all know that superhero films live and die by their villain casting. So we're still a couple of years away from Heath Ledger as the Joker, but we have Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. You have Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow in one of the most subtly superior supervillain castings. Like, that's pristine casting, because Scarecrow can be, you know, if you watch like the animated series, Scarecrow could have been taken in a very cheesy kind of Halloween Party City kind of look, but instead they added depth and menace and just a very cool, nasty vibe to Scarecrow. And that's because of Cillian Murphy being awesome. But Liam Neeson is Ra's al Ghul. It's because the Ra's al Ghul Batman dynamic is it's deeper than just bad guy versus superhero. That's not it, right? So Liam Neeson and Christian Bale going tete-a-tete on screen, you couldn't have asked for a better cast. You really couldn't. For my watch pick, I have to let all of our listeners know that in our podcast recording studio, there are books upon books upon books upon books upon books upon books. I may have a library.
And upstairs.
Upon books, upon books, upon books. Okay. So we have established that I need about another 700 years to finish all the books that we have in the house. Cool? Okay. Established. So when I say that my 2005 movie is based on one of the books in our library, I say it with trepidation, because the author was not very happy with the movie that came out. I'm talking about Sahara, based on the book written by Clive Cussler. This is the second ever Clive Cussler, Dirk Pitt novel that was turned into a film. The first one being Raise the Titanic. And guess what? Cussler hated that one too. But the thing is, if you don't read the Dirk Pitt books, Sahara is a fun, big budget, big screen popcorn flick. But if you read the books, and if you're like me, you mentally cast the characters when you're reading the books. And I have done that. So when I tell you that the casting of this film is hit and miss, it's because I've read way too many Clive Cussler books in my time. Matthew McConaughey as Dirk Pitt, I actually don't mind him because, you know, he fits into that potential hero role. But Dirk Pitt was never really like the swashbuckling action hero. He was never like muy macho action hero. I mean, you could interpret it that way, but there was a bit more humor to him, a bit more lightness to Dirk Pitt. McConaughey, in hindsight, is actually not a bad cast for that role. William H. Macy, Colonel Sandecker, really good. That's probably the most accurate casting of a main Dirk Pitt character. In no universe whatsoever is Steve Zahn even remotely a good Al Giordino. He even had trouble saying his own character's name. It sounded like he was struggling through it and like sounding it out phonetically. Al Giordino is a short, stocky, fun, quippy Italian sidekick. Steve Zahn is quippy. That's about it. Before he went full UFC podcast route, like early news radio Joe Rogan would have made the perfect Al Giordino. I still enjoy the film, but I understand why people don't. But I would still defend it. Just forget the books exist. Forget the books exist. Forget any inclination of who you think Dirk Pitt should be, and you will enjoy the film. Carrie, over to you. What's your watch pick?
I am watching The Man with Sam Jackson, Eugene Levy, like your typical buddy cop movie. But the two of them are just, they're so funny and they play off of each other so well.
I mean, Eugene Levy is comedy gold. Samuel Jackson is MF.
Bad mofo.
But yet still comedy gold.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, this is one of those films that does what every other film does. They say, oh yeah, no, it's set in Detroit. It's set in an American city. Filmed in Toronto.
Yeah. Well,
Hamilton, Oakville. Because I get it, right? Movies come up here because the difference in the dollar. So the American dollar gets more bang for the buck. And like, this is Hollywood North. It's always been Hollywood North. And that's okay. However, I hate to point this out to you. Rotten Tomatoes, 12%.
I knew it qualified. I wonder if it's because it just follows all of the tropes of like the, classic buddy cop that really they are two completely different characters and they're not meant to get along. So, of course, they're going to fight and it's going to be, there's the comedy, right?
Yeah.
It's the conflicting or opposing personalities. Of course, they're not going to get along. You've got like super serious and then, kind of like, I wouldn't even say the comic relief, but they're both very different.
Yeah. I mean, to put it in perspective, Eugene Levy was nominated for Worst Supporting Actor at the Razzies that year and at the 2005 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards. Samuel L. Jackson and Eugene Levy won the award for Less Than Dynamic Duo.
Oh.
So maybe, just maybe, there's an episode somewhere down the road for this film for us.
What though? I think that was the intention of the movie. So for them to, be called out for being the less than dynamic duo, of course they're not meant to be a cohesive team. Like that's the comedy of the movie, people. Like why award them, I guess, for the intention, for knowing the assignment.
For the record, too, this is an early role for Captain America himself, Anthony Mackie, who's in this as, this is his character name, Booty.
Oh, God.
Captain
That's
America
right.
is Booty.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Okay. I remember that now.
All right, let's booty down to your past pick for movies released in 2005.
I am passing on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It kind of looks like everything that I would typically like in a movie, but it still didn't intrigue me enough to watch.
Starring Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, Michelle Monaghan, and Corbin Burnson. Actually, this film, not surprised that you didn't watch it because it was actually named Overlooked Film of the Year at the 2005 Phoenix Film Critics Society Awards. So that makes sense.
It has, a decent ensemble cast, but kind of almost has that like The Usual Suspects kind of vibe, where it looks like it should be really, really good, but I don't think that, I think it was, again, easily overlooked and sadly, easily passable.
Well, interestingly enough, the critics have this over at Rotten Tomatoes at 86%. And in an interview with Joe Rogan, Robert Downey Jr. described this film as, quote unquote, in some ways, the best film he's ever done. So while we can't talk about it on It's Not That Bad, it definitely bears sitting down and giving it a good watch. Because I will admit, I've never actually watched it myself as well. So put it on the list. When we're not watching bad films, we want to have a little palate cleanser. Maybe we go down that road.
Now, wait a minute. Iron Man of all people
Yes.
claimed that this is the best role he's ever done.
Quote unquote, in some ways, the best film he's ever done.
In
Now,
2005.
Yes.
When did Iron Man first come out?
2008. But that interview with Joe Rogan was in 2020. So this is an in hindsight thing.
Wow.
So.
Okay, I may sit or stand corrected. We'll see.
Fair enough. I'm surprised with you, though. Because my past pick, what I've watched, what I know you've watched.
Oh.
And I know it's one that we have covered on It's Not That Bad.
Oh?
And
it's not what I'm thinking then.
You were initially excited about it. Then you watched it. And it made you question every feeling you ever had for Christian Slater. I'm talking about Alone in the Dark.
Ooh. Enough said.
How can a film like this, directed by Uwe Boll, end up having Tara Reid as my MVP?
Do you know what, though? I passed on passing on this movie because I think we've said enough about it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind Tara Reid in this. Actually, if I remember correctly, I think it was actually Christian Slater who was my MVP. But I mean, Tara Reid was definitely in the running for my MVP because she didn't put in a bad performance. But the thing is, this film is so poorly made and poorly directed, and things don't line up, and
literally the worst choreographed fight scenes.
Oh, gee. Like I don't even think they were in the same room. It's like, let's stand everyone in front of a green screen and then we'll take out the green and then not put anything in. We'll set them in a dark room. Also, how big is that loft? And I don't want to go back down that road. Directed by Uwe Boll. That's all I need to say. That's usually all I need to say is directed by Uwe Boll. Whew, Alone in the Dark happened. And Alone in the Dark is on the Wikipedia list for worst films considered to be the worst. There's a reason for that. Sometimes when we watch these movies, and I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind watching that again. It's okay. Don't ever say, honey, would you like to watch Alone in the Dark again? Because at that point, I'm going to ask you what drugs you're on, how drunk are you, and who are you, and what have you done with my wife? Once was enough.
I think we can guarantee that those words won't be coming out of my mouth.
No one in the history of ever should ever ask for a second serving of Alone in the Dark. All right, Carrie, before we go, please remind our listeners what your keep, watch, and past picks are from movies released in 2005.
All right, I am keeping Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'm watching The Man, and I'm passing on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, although I may actually be intrigued enough to give it a watch.
All right. I am keeping Batman Begins. I am watching Sahara, and I am passing Now and forever and always, alone in the dark. Carrie, thank you so much for this. And dear listeners, well, you guys know the drill. If there's a topic that you want us to cover on Keep Watch Pass or a movie that you want us to cover on It's Not That Bad, hit us up on social media at Not That Badcast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out our merch section. We got some cool stuff on there. And if you want to help support the show, well, now you know how. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.